Personal log, Lieutenant Alex Craig, Stardate 411-54.3. I'd been meaning to come here since I came aboard, but I'd held off, the way you hold off on something you know you'll want time for. When I finally did, I brought a book with me, something that wouldn't let me move too quickly. The doors opened and the shift was immediate. The air was warmer than the corridors, carrying the scent of soil and something green that hadn't settled into a single note. Light filtered down through layers of leaves above, breaking apart before it reached the ground, leaving some sections bright and others dim where the branches intercepted it. The path curved ahead, slipping behind growth and revealing itself again deeper in. I stepped inside and paused. The walls were still there, but they didn't feel close. Every few steps, something new came into view. Another level above, another section tucked behind a turn in the path, another stretch of plants extending farther than it first appeared. It was difficult to tell how much space there actually was, or where it ended. I started walking again, slower than I had been anywhere else on the ship. That was when I saw her. She stood just off the path, dark hair pinned back loosely, sleeves rolled above her wrists, working with a support tray that had slipped out of alignment. One side had sunk slightly. She was trying to lift it back into place without disturbing the surrounding plants. It wasn't moving. "Want a hand?" I asked. She glanced up, took me in quickly, then nodded. "Yeah." I stepped in beside her and took the opposite side. Together, we lifted it just enough to guide it back into place. It slid in, cleanly. She let go first. "Thanks. No problem." She stayed a moment longer, checking the edges, adjusting one of the leaves that had bent under the shift. Her movements were careful, but not rigid. She made a few small corrections, then watched how the plant responded. "You work here?" I asked. "Botany," she said, brushing soil from her hands. She looked up again. "I'm Keiko." "I'm Alex." She gave a small nod, then glanced around the arboretum, taking it in again. "First time?" she asked. "Yeah, I just came aboard from Farpoint yesterday. This was one of the first places I wanted to see." She considered that, then gave a slight, knowing nod. "It's not what most people expect," she said. "No," I replied, looking around again. "It's more than that. I was stationed on a starbase before this. We had a small arboretum there. It was kind of a point of pride." She smiled at that. "I've seen those, usually tucked into a corner somewhere." "Exactly. That one felt special, but this," I gestured outward, "this doesn't feel like it should fit inside a ship at all." "It doesn't," she said quietly. "Not really." She glanced upward toward the higher levels. "This is the first time I've seen anything like this on a starship," she added. "I've been trying to understand how they designed it, the way everything feeds into everything." She paused briefly, searching for the right phrasing. "I've spent the last few days going over the systems, the growth patterns. Even before I came on board, I was reading what I could find." "I've seen some of those schematics," I said. "Not in detail, but enough to know it's doing more than it looks like." That caught her attention. "You have?" "A little," I said. "Enough to know I don't fully understand it either." She studied me for a moment, then nodded once, more certain this time. "I'm still figuring it out," she said, "but I could show you what I've worked out so far." "I like that." She turned slightly toward the path, then glanced back at me. "This way." We stepped onto it together, the curve of the arboretum drawing us forward. As we moved deeper, she pointed out structural transitions I hadn't noticed at first, subtle shifts in light, the way certain plants were grouped to regulate each other rather than simply coexist. I added what I could where it fit, small pieces from what I'd read, questions where I didn't understand. At one point, we slowed near a cluster of low-growing plants arranged in a near-perfect ring. Each one branched outward in fine, feathered patterns, almost identical in shape and spread. "These are impressive," I said. She focused on one of them, her expression tightening slightly, more intent now. "A little too precise," she said. I glanced at her. "What do you mean?" She crouched slightly, running her fingers lightly along the edge of one branch, then another. "There should be more variation," she said, "even here." "In a controlled environment?" I asked. Especially here, she replied. You guide growth. You don't standardize it. I looked again. Once she pointed it out, the uniformity was hard to miss. Maybe the conditions are just that stable? I said. Maybe, she said, but her attention lingered on the plant a moment longer before she stood. After a moment, her focus shifted back to me. Her gaze dropped briefly to the book in my hand. Japanese, she noted. Yeah, I said, working on it, slowly. She gave a faint nod. That would make you take your time. That's the idea, I said. If I don't, I tend to move past things too quickly. She smiled slightly. I do that with plants. If you rush it, you miss what they're actually doing. We continued along the path. I've got a stack of books I keep meaning to get to, she said after a moment. They've been following me from one assignment to the next. I just never quite get to them. That sounds familiar, I said. A few moments passed. A friend of mine suggested I start a book club, I added. She glanced over. A book club? I'm still figuring it out, I said. Nothing formal, just something outside of work. She considered it. It's not a bad idea, she said. You should come, I replied. She looked at me for a moment, weighing it, then gave a small nod. I might. It could give you a reason to finally get to some of those books you've been carrying around, I said. That brought out a real smile. That might, she said. We kept walking. The path rose slightly, and as it curved, the stars came into view again through the upper panels, clearer from this angle, framed by the structure in the leaves. The conversation didn't stop, but it didn't rush either. It continued. I hadn't known her more than a few minutes, but it didn't feel like something that needed to start. It already felt like it had. I stayed longer than I meant to, and when I finally left, I knew I'd be coming back.